My name is Veronica. I'm the founder of the Conscious Relationship School and a relationship coach. And wonderful that you are here tonight. So the topic today is unconscious blockages to relationships. And it's such an important topic because I work, in my daily life so often with people that come to me and say, Veronica, I can't find a partner. And I always tell them, all right, let's look into it. What are the reasons? And when we go deeper into the subconscious, we can always find that we are actually blocking finding a partner unconsciously because we feel scared, because we've been hurt in the past. And yeah, because relationships can really hurt us, right? But of course, this is all subconscious because a part of us, of course, wants to have a relationship, right? But I want to show you today how that works, but also how you can find out a little bit why you are actually blocking, and then to stop that as well. Or let's say to heal and transform it is maybe a better way of saying that. Okay, cool. So, and how this works is that I'll share my screen in a moment and guide you through a presentation. And please feel free to ask questions throughout, and I'll also ask you some questions so you can reflect a bit about how that applies to your own life. I'll record this and publish it on YouTube, so just that you're aware of this. All right, cool. So let's go. And by the way, maybe you hear that I have an accent. I'm actually from Germany, and the reason why I have the group in Australia is because it works really well. I also have a group here in the UK, but yeah, just with the time difference works very well. So awesome. Cool. So here we go. So the agenda for today, let's give this a moment to load. Yes, there we go. So how our subconscious mind is influencing our life, like what is the subconscious actually? How negative beliefs affect relationships, because negative beliefs are like rooted in the subconscious. And then the reasons for not being able to attract a partner, or the reasons why you're always attracting the wrong or toxic partner. Okay, cool. So here we go. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Veronica. I'm a relationship coach and an emotional healing expert. So my background is trauma work. So I know a lot about like psychology and how sort of like our mind and emotions work on a deeper level. And this is how I coach people when I help them, for example, with breakup recovery, having more connection in their own relationships, connecting deeper with themselves. And also become really comfortable with their own emotions. And of course, communication is a big topic too. And I'll do one-on-one coaching and also teaching. And yes, that's my life. And I share here on Meetup because I'm really passionate about these topics. And I think if more people just knew how to relate in a healthy way, our world would be a much, much, much better place. So yes, I hope you all can hear me well. If there's anything, just let me know in the chat. Okay, cool. So let's talk a bit about the subconscious, because it's like a term that's always like thrown around, everywhere is talking about the subconscious, but what is it actually and how does it influence our life? So we have to understand that, our mind and our brain is like fascinating, right? Like it's sort of like a supercomputer, how we are able to navigate through life. But essentially our brain knows that it wants to conserve energy, because especially, how we have evolved as humans, we did not have so much food, we did not have so much energy, right? So everything in our body is focused on not exuding so much energy. And of course, mental processes take up a lot of energy. And that's why we operate mostly in our daily life from the subconscious mind. So these are all the habits or the automations that our mind has created for us, to not exude so much energy. And maybe you've also heard this term like habits, shape your habits and you can create this amazing change in your life. How it works is that we are sort of like using this automatic process of our body and mind to optimize our life. So for example, the most easiest example is when you are driving, right? If you have driven for a few years, you will know that at some point you just do it automatically. You're not even there, right? Like sometimes you check out for 10 minutes, you're like, oh, I just drove on autopilot. That is the subconscious mind doing the process because driving is so familiar to it. But then the problem with this is also that we also automize, for example, thought patterns, you know? So for example, beliefs are also something that is in the subconscious mind. And if you are again and again thinking the belief, I'm not good enough, then it becomes a thought pattern and you're automatically starting to see the world in this way, right? Because it's familiar, it's an easy way of thinking. And our beliefs sort of like really shape our world because there's so much information coming in at all times that at some point our mind, again, to save energy, creates like a belief around the world, and then it tries to filter all the information that fits into the belief. And of course, this can be so beautiful if you have beliefs around, I'm amazing, I'm so capable, you know, the world is a lovely place, then this is amazing. But if you have negative beliefs like I'm worthless, people will always hurt me, people are not reliable, then you will, you know, filter all this information to feed into those beliefs, and then you have a very negative experience of life. So essentially what I'm trying to tell you is that if you wanna do any sort of like self-development work and relationship work, you wanna try to make everything that is subconscious conscious, that you become conscious of your thought patterns, you become conscious of your emotions, you become conscious of your beliefs, and then consciously you change them to a more positive version. All right. And this is the whole thing when we talk about awakening or someone being enlightened, it's basically to make the subconscious conscious, to act in a way that you are totally aware of your own beliefs and emotions, and you choose consciously, what do I think? What do I feel? You know, you make choices. That's what we mean when someone is conscious. And in the context of relationships, we talk about conscious relating, you know, conscious relationships. That's what it means. Okay, why am I behaving the way that I'm behaving? Why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Why do I have this emotional trigger right now? You make it conscious, and then you maybe heal it, or you do like a process with it, and then you make a conscious choice what action you take next, right? And that's how it works essentially. So that was a little introduction to the subconscious mind. And now, yes, let's talk further. So, and when it comes to relationships, we gotta understand that how your subconscious works is that it holds all your experiences you've ever made in regards to relationships. And of course, very influential here is your childhood years, because this is sort of like, especially the years from 0 to 7 is when we've been really imprinted and our current personalities have been formed. And so what you've experienced there shapes, first of all, how you behave in relationships, but also what you expect from relationships. So let's say if you had this feeling that you're really loved and that you're really supportive and that you are good the way you are, then that's what you're going to believe in relationships. Oh, I'm going to meet a partner that, you know, adores me, that meets all my needs, that is so loving and kind. And then if someone doesn't do that, then you're not even thinking you want to be in a relationship with them. But similarly, if you have experienced a lot of pain, you know, maybe you were not really seen or understood, or you felt not important, that's also what you will expect from relationships. And so you will automatically, you know, that's all unconsciously happening. You're scanning, and if something feels familiar and what you have experienced in childhood, that's often what you feel attracted to, just because it feels familiar and a little bit safe, you know. That's why we always see that, for example, if a woman has been, you know, beaten by her parents, she will very likely find a man who also beats her, you know. Or if a man had a super controlling mother, when as an adult, he very often finds a very controlling partner, you know. That's how that works. Because again, for the subconscious, it's like familiarity is easy because you can do it all subconsciously. You don't have to act consciously, which again takes so much energy, right? So, you know, it's sort of like a bit unhealthy, but that's how our system works. So even if something is really toxic and really unhealthy, if it's familiar, it sort of like feels better than something new, even if that would be like a bad experience for yourself. All right. So does that make sense for you guys so far? Is there any questions about what we just talked about? Good. I get a thumbs up. Awesome. Yes, yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat, please. Yes. Okay, cool. So now let's talk about beliefs, because they are really connected. They are in our subconscious if we don't make them conscious, and they affect our relationships immensely. So let's make this a bit more clear. Right. So I wanted to ask you guys, so what beliefs do you have about men or women? And do this like about the sex that you're attracted to, you know? So if you are like, I'm a woman, I'm attracted to men. So I would write down anything that I believe about men, and the other way around as well. So just use the chat and you can just put one word in there. What is something that you believe? Like how they will act towards you, how they are, all that sort of stuff. So just use the chat and there you go. Mariah says they have more physical power as I, which can be wonderful or threatening, depends on the situation. Ah, very nice awareness. Men, caretakers. Iman says not in touch with emotions. Yeah, maybe a few more people. Women, gentle. Oh, nice. All the comments were 12, 12. I'm a little obsessed with numbers. Men often not comfortable in their body. All right. Good mothers. Nice. Ah, there is someone also in the presentation. Flowing, radiant, caring, grounded, supportive. Wow, so many positive beliefs. I like it. Very good. Awesome. Kind, generous, nice. Wow. Unpredictable to understand. Yes. All right. Great. Thanks, guys. So look at these words now that people have written. And first, you know, if we look at those, grounded, supportive, kind, generous, flowing, radiant. Imagine someone has these beliefs. Let's say this is a man and this is the beliefs he has about women. Imagine the energy that someone feels when he thinks about women. So that is what you can say very positive beliefs. And it's very likely that that person will attract into their lives or simply see very positive qualities in people. And because we see those positive qualities, we are much more likely to act in a way that promotes this behavior in other people. Whereas, for example, something like not comfortable in their body, that's maybe something where we will be very, very hyper aware to when someone is exhibiting that. Or, for example, Winner says women are unpredictable to understand. So I think when a woman is maybe displaying some emotion, immediately he will be like, oh, she's unpredictable, you know, that's the reaction. And then he will maybe act in a way that promotes that further. So I'm just trying to make you aware how you are very much sort of like interacting with other people through the lens of beliefs that you hold, you know. So for example, JR says women are hormonal, right? So when women is maybe a bit more emotional, you'll be like, oh, they are hormonal. Maybe someone else would think, oh, women are more alive, you know. So So that's just what I wanted to tell you, how you can maybe check a bit, okay, what's the belief I'm holding, and how does that influence how I'm interacting with people? Because I, for example, I used to hold very negative beliefs about men, that they are emotionally unintelligent, not caring, they don't listen, they're not there for me. And I would meet so many, like men that were exactly like that. And I've shifted these beliefs now, and now I feel so surrounded by beautiful men. I have so many amazing male clients, which I really love. And of course, it's not, that the men have so much shifted, but that my attitude towards them has changed a lot, and I feel much more generous when maybe they say something that I could interpret as negative. But also because I'm so positive towards them, I promote this very caring and loving behavior from them. Okay, but let's get a little bit more into this. So imagine you hold this negative belief about men or women. For example, all men are unreliable. This is actually a belief that so many women hold. And you will see the world through this lens and notice whenever any man is even a little unreliable, and take this as confirmation that your belief is true. That's what we call the confirmation bias. And you can see this also with, sort of like this online culture that we have, where it's also the PC culture, people are always offended about everything. And that's exactly that, because you are sort of taking everything through this, oh my gosh, how could this person offend me now? How could this person be like this and this? And that's like how it like shapes your world, and you see it everywhere. And you also very often project this onto others, even though they don't mean it at all, like that. But then also another problem of beliefs is the negative beliefs that you hold about yourself. So it makes me always sad, but how many people hold a belief like I'm worthless and stupid? It's like almost everyone I coach has some sort of belief around that they have not much self-worth. And this in turn leads to that it will be very hard for you to trust others, that you think, oh my gosh, they just think I'm like ugly, and you can't even believe that someone wants to be with you. And of course, it promotes, that you are accepting toxic behavior, that you think, oh my gosh, I cannot, break up with that person because I will never find someone else. So as you can see, it like shapes your whole reality. And that is a really big difference why some people, like, the power dynamics are so off in a relationship, that one partner is just being so mean or so egoistic or something, but because the other person has such a low self-worth that they just accept this behavior. And I always see this with my clients if we do belief work, and they actually start shifting this about themselves. And of course, that's a very, very deep process, because this, goes usually down to the earliest childhood experiences, that you've created this belief that you're worthless. But when you start shifting that, you always see the relationship dynamic shift. And then suddenly the partner who has been, at the center of the attention, who always got their way, starts, begging for the other person's attention, and it all shifts essentially. Peter says, love the picture. Yes, the dog, eh? But that. Right. Cool. So there's one person here. So I used to always use this, but I think I'm going to change now again, because yeah, you can also participate in this presentation, but it's sort of like maybe not the most fun thing ever. But yes, you can answer this question now. Which of these problems are you struggling with? I find it difficult to attract a partner. I'm always attracting the wrong or toxic partner, both or neither. And you can, if you answer this question in the chat, you can just say 1, 2, 3, or 4. 3, yes. 2, 2, 1, 3. one. Nice. All right. So most people seem to either find it difficult to attract a partner, to attract the wrong partner, or both. All right. And one person also here says neither. That's good. Nice. All right. Good. So in the second part of this presentation, I'll talk about both. I'll talk about reasons for finding it difficult to attract a partner in the first place, but then always some reasons why you keep attracting the wrong or the toxic partner. But I also want to validate you that this is so common. I mean, I'm doing relationship coaching, but actually most of the clients I have, they are not in relationships because it's so difficult these days for people to actually relate in a positive way. And I think that has so many different reasons, from sort of like very loose dating culture, but then also to social skills going down. And then also there's a real shift, I think, in terms of mental health problems are bubbling up, and just a lot of the things are not working anymore, because also, what has kept relationships together in the past was really sort of like a rigorous society, where also, you're married and then that's it. And I'm definitely in favor of, commitment in relationships, and want to help my clients have really long-term, really safe and connected relationships, but of course not at the expense of your own needs, not out of a feeling of obligation, but actually that you work together as a team. And I believe that most people want that, they want the long-term partner that they can really count on, because life is very stressful, and it's just so much better to have someone, to be a team with you and to share and to support each other as well. Okay, cool. So what are the subconscious reasons for not being able to attract a partner? Okay, so let's go into this. And this is quite high level stuff, So when I coach people, this is something that I don't talk about with everybody, because for some people it's like, you have to start just with like boundaries and getting to know your own needs and that stuff. But sort of like, if you really want to get into, okay, how am I creating my own reality? How is life not happening to me, but I'm actively involved in that? Because this is the most empowered state you can be in. And this is not about, blaming you. It's your fault that you don't have a partner or something like that, but just being like, okay, what is maybe happening here, and what can I do to change this? Because of course, part of it is, society, and that dating is hard. People are very disconnected from each other. It's hard to meet people, definitely. But there is also part of this that maybe subconsciously you are, afraid, and that you are actually blocking in one way or the other to find someone. And that's the only thing I'm offering here. But feel free, whatever feels good, take that on, and the rest, throw it out the window. Yes. All right. So let's just see. I am. Okay. So one of the most biggest things is that we unconsciously block ourselves from being in relationships because we are afraid. It's a real self-protection. And some people are very aware of this, they say like, oh yeah, I'd like to have someone, but also I really don't want to change my life. I feel like they'll disturb the peace, or I find it hard to, change my rhythm or something like this. But others, for them, they're so unaware of this. And this is very often because the pain you've experienced in relationships are not very obvious, So when I coach people, I always talk with them about their childhood. Why? Because as I said in the beginning, this is where you learned how to have relationships. And childhood trauma and like childhood wounds is very little understood in our society, because actually, most children experience a lot of pain when they grow up. Why? Because our society is not set up actually for a human to thrive and get all its needs met. Most children don't really feel understood in their childhood. They don't really feel seen. They never get a lot of emotion coaching. And many children feel very lonely growing up, like they don't matter. And that, of course, makes you feel really, really hurt, and it actually makes you want to never experience the same pain again. And that's when, and you can even see this in the body of people, like how many people sit like this, right? this is like the protective mode. Oh, I'm protecting myself from never ever being hurt again. And what you mostly protect is your heart, you know. So a lot of the times when someone just can't find a partner, and they try and they try and they try, when you look into their childhood, they had just painful things happening, you know. As I said, it doesn't have to be the big traumas of being like beaten or abused or something. It can be things like, I never belonged, you know, my emotions were never okay. Or I never had this feeling that when I had a problem, that someone would listen to me. It can be things like this that are so painful. So, and a partner has the potential to hurt us like our parents because they are so close to us, right? So imagine they reject us. It's like immediately all these old wounds get triggered, you know? So essentially a part of you saying, no, F that. I never ever want to feel like that again. So I just don't want a partner in my life. I'd rather be alone and you know, have to face that pain than that I will risk getting hurt again like I was. So that's self-protection. And that is very, very powerful. And essentially, of course, in this presentation, you know, I can't go so much into detail about what to do. But essentially, to turn this around is to, first of all, start healing those wounds from childhood, but also to make yourself aware how painful it also is to be lonely, you know. And for us humans, we are a group species. We are like made to be in groups. It's very, very, very painful to be lonely. So it's sort of like the question, right? Like, which pain do you take? The risk of being hurt, and you're probably going to get a little hurt because, you know, that's how relationships are. Or do you just, are you okay with the pain of being alone a lot? So that's like one way out of this. Okay. And then another way to conceptualize of the subconscious is through parts. And so very often people come to me and say, oh, I really want to date, but I was self-manipulating myself. You know, I was showing up half an hour late to the date and I didn't even know what happened. It was so confusing. And it happened 3-4 times. I always showed up late, but I really want to date someone, but I feel like I'm self-manipulating. What's happening here? You know, like this makes people really anxious because they feel like there's something within them that doesn't like them or hate them, you know, wants them to do bad. But that's not true. Because everything, you know, within you, your subconscious, everything that you're not aware of, it's all about self-love, and we can call these parts. So many of you have maybe heard of the part that is the inner child, which is essentially a part of you that is like you were as a child, and that has a lot of joy and childlike wonder, but also carries your wounds from the past. But then there's many other parts, you know. We have a part of us that's really critical, that's like this voice inside of ourselves who's like, what did you do again? Oh my gosh, so bad. Then maybe a part that's really perfectionistic and gets really, you know, anxious if we do something wrong. Then we maybe have a part who really can't stand any conflict and has to always make sure that it's peaceful. And so that is all acting within you, you know, and most people sort of like are so unaware of this, and they're constantly shifting from one part into the next. And those parts are essentially like manipulating you, you know. So it could be that you have one part of yourself which is like, you know, sort of like your mature adult who's like, yes, I want to date now, it's time, I want to get married and stuff. But then there's maybe like the inner child who's like, no, I was hurt in childhood, this is ridiculous, I never ever want to be hurt again. So it's like sort of like blocking you within you. And I know that it sounds a little bit like we're all schizophrenic, but it's really just like a very it's just how the human mind works, you know. And this is such a good way of conceptualizing with it, because it's like the best way I've ever found to understand myself and to help my clients understand themselves. And I just had such a great experience coaching someone, and it's like this parts work, we call it, helps him so much, because he doesn't feel like, some emotion is overtaking him and then he does some action that he later regrets, right? He realized, oh, this is a part, and actually can talk to myself and can start to manage those parts in a really positive way, right? So so whenever you feel like you are self-manipulating, that is actually what's happening. So you can start becoming aware of these different parts within yourself. And the different modalities that work with this is, for example, internal family systems therapy. I can write it down. Internal family systems therapy, then parts work, then voice dialogue is also. So these are all like modalities to work with this, and it's really amazing. And Peter asks, how many parts in total? Yes, that's totally depending on whoever you're standing in front. We can say that someone who has been severely traumatized has a lot of parts, and many of them completely unconscious. And that's actually what we then call when someone is actually schizophrenic or has multiple personality disorder. It just means that some parts have been pushed so deep into the unconscious. And the reason, and then, they are not like, it's like you are not aware what the parts are doing. That is what multiple personality disorder is. And the reason for this is that your consciousness is trying to protect you from these intense emotions that you experience with severe abuse. And that's why it's like, you can imagine that you have like sort of like a hotel room in your mind, and it just gets shoved into the last corner so that you don't have to feel it in your daily life, because it would be so overwhelming. But if you would do parts work with these people and actually help them slowly to feel the pain and heal the wounds, then they would not experience this anymore, because they are able to, be with these intense experiences. So it's a self-protection mechanism, essentially. But yes, you could have anything from, I don't know, like 50 to 100 to 200 parts, but it's not really so important how many parts you have, because it's an exploration process, and if you do parts work for many years, you can still experience new things. It's more about if you start doing this, you are actually becoming your own friend, and you start understanding yourself, and your behavior will not be strange to you anymore. And that is what for most people is so healing, because of course it feels really scary if you think, oh my gosh, what am I doing now? Like, why am I texting this person? Why am I drinking again? Why am I eating so much sugar? But if you start to understand that this is all connected with some parts of yourself whose needs have not been met, you can really start taking care of yourself. And that is then what real good therapy or coaching will help you do, essentially. Yes, but of course, sticking to the topic, so in terms of dating and relationships, these parts will very often manipulate you and either tell you things like, oh, you're not good enough, so don't even try it, or, oh, all men are horrible, so don't even date, because you're just going to get hurt, or as I said, even will make you come late, or stuff like that. Yeah. So again, this is just another way to conceptualize the subconscious mind, which is very, very active in our daily life. And that's why this is like very deep self-development, but also, like spiritual work, because this is like all about self-awareness and self-realization. Right, cool. So now there's another question. So which of these parts are you most familiar with in yourself? So the inner child, the inner critic, perfectionist, the peacemaker, the controller. So you can again just answer from 1 to 5. Cool. And Marai says a beautiful short book, mostly pictures, like a children's book on this topic. Why did I do that? How you make sense and why there's hope, an introduction to internal family systems. Oh, very nice. Yeah, really good. Yeah, and then, okay, so 1, 4, 2, 5, 4. In the chat, here is also 2, the perfectionist. Yeah. 4, All right, so the peacemaker. Okay, so there's a few codependents here. Yes. Oh, not so much actually the perfectionist. Just here, child, a few people. Yeah, nice, cool. So some modalities like voice dialogue, they use, those terms, but this is just sort of like an over category of parts that many people have. Many people maybe that was always their role in the family, that they are the peacemaker, so that's really strong in them. Or many people maybe were experienced a lot of shaming, right? So they or that they were being told off when they did a mistake, so they become very perfectionistic. So and also in different societies you see that people have more parts developed that are in alignment with the values. So if one society develops, let's say, that people are really nice, then you will see a lot of these like peacemakers, diplomats, all that stuff, or the nice guys. Or if another society maybe values like assertiveness, then you will have a lot of like controllers or managers or something active within the people. All right, so this is a little introduction. And I hope that it helps you a little bit to understand yourself a little bit better in your daily life. Cool. So now, last topic, to understand the reasons for attracting the wrong and/or toxic partner. And I remember that a lot of you guys said that this is something that you were faced with. And yes, and again, I want to also validate you that this is really so common. And especially also maybe you can see a pattern that you always sort of like attract the same style of person, the same type of person. And that is also very, very normal. And I want to tell you why. Oh, sorry, can you not hear me? Okay, good. That's awesome. Sorry, maybe you are experiencing a technical difficulty. Yeah. Good. Do you know what, guys? This is a good point before I go there, because sometimes I make an announcement and it's a little late in the end. All right, so just before we go on, I want to tell you that I actually am planning now to start group coaching with people, because I totally understand that for some people, the one-on-one coaching is not affordable. So I wanted to create a little bit more lower price offer, but also because I'm a big believer of healing in groups and healing in relationships. So how this essentially works is that it will be a group of, I think I'll start with like 10 people and then maybe do it to 20 and have like 2 sessions a month where we get together as a group. And then one person, whoever feels called to, can bring a topic to the group, and I will coach him or her for around like 20 minutes. And the others in that time when I coach them can, of course, first of all, practice being really present, then also see how the topic applies in their own lives, then also learn, of course, coaching skills, because, oh my gosh, coaching is so amazing, with friends, family, colleagues, kids. It's so amazing if you just follow the coaching principles. So it's a very good relationship skill. And then, of course, also watch me how I communicate with compassion, validate all this good stuff. And then also become really aware if what that person is sharing triggers you. Because essentially one of the most important skills in relationships is really understanding how so often when you feel triggered around other people, if you have an emotional reaction to them, it shows a lot about your own patterns. And in such a group space, we can make this a really safe experience, because after the 20 minutes of coaching one person one-on-one, we'll open up the space and people can share their experiences, maybe share, oh, how does this topic apply in my own life? Or, oh my gosh, when you shared this, I felt really triggered. And I think this has happened because this and this. And then again, we can work on this. Maybe you can understand your own patterns. And I feel really passionate about this, because I always love if we make it really open, and if people actually start sharing, then we always realize that we're all the same. Everyone has the same problems. And that also it's really safe to tell each other about the things that we're struggling with, because it is so important, to feel connected and to feel that we're not lonely, to actually also talk about some deeper things. But this will not be like a therapy group. So we're not going to talk about topics like, like loss or abuse or something like that. More like everyday topics, things like, I can't say no. Oh my gosh, I just broke up. I find it really difficult. I'm struggling to feel connected in my relationship. So these everyday things that so many people have, this is the topics I want to bring. So if you're interested in this, I put my email there. Send me an email and I'll get you some more information. I have not created a page on my website for this, but yes, if you would be interested in this, and I want to do it at a time that works for you guys as well. So I think it will be at the same time, like 11 a.m. And for you guys it will be 8 p.m. On maybe like a Wednesday or something, or a Thursday. And yeah, I think it could be very, very cool. So yes, just this little announcement. Right, let's get on with the topic. So, cool. And of course, this is also a topic we can talk about. Why am I always attracting those unhealthy relationships? The women that are always controlling, the men that are always emotionally unavailable. This is all topics that we can bring up because so many people go through the same thing, and it can be so healing, and also, of course, you will learn so much by hearing other people's experiences as well. And Mariah says, I like the setup you laid out. Nice. That's really cool. Yes, I also feel excited about this. Okay, cool. So when it comes to attracting toxic or just incompatible partners, what's very often happening is that we attract something which I call a trauma relationship. So the thing is about trauma, and trauma literally just means painful, emotionally intense experiences that you could not make sense of in childhood, that you could not process, So someone can have a trauma like a car accident, but if afterwards they have a way to process it and someone helps them, make sense of the experience and actually express their emotions, it doesn't have to be a trauma. So it's not so much about what has happened, but how you were able to deal with it or not deal with it. So something like your mother ignoring you for an afternoon when you're 4 years old could be a trauma if someone doesn't help you to deal with it. And the thing is then, though, that your mind always wants you to resolve the trauma because it's like a wound in your body. Your body also wants to heal the wounds that you have on your skin or, fractures you have in your body. And that's the same for your consciousness, for your mind wants to also heal those traumas. So basically what then happens is that, let's say you felt very abandoned by your dad in childhood, you will feel very, very attracted to men who also abandon you because you're trying subconsciously to heal the trauma around your dad, or maybe even more, let's say a better term than abandoned is the emotional available man. So very often women who had emotionally unavailable fathers find the same later in their partners. And this, what I see in my clients, and I've also experienced this in my own life, this is often such a deep attraction. It feels like, they are like the most amazing person I've ever met. Oh my gosh, I can see the future of us, and it's so strong. But the reason for this is first of all, because it feels very familiar. And what I told you in the beginning, familiarity feels really good for us because the mind doesn't have to work so much. So even if it's, really unhealthy and actually very scary, familiar feels sort of like safe. But exactly the other thing of this attraction is because it's like this hope that finally I can heal those old wounds that I've experienced so long ago. But of course, most of the time, unfortunately, it does not work because you will just respond the same as you did as a child, and it becomes actually this trauma loop usually. Yeah, exactly. And like in the spiritual circles, this is often when people say, oh my gosh, he's my twin flame. Oh my gosh, he's the other part of my soul, and they have this because they have this really, really deep feeling of connection. But unfortunately, very often this is like they can taste or see the potential of their own healing, and that's what they project onto the other person, you know. And I've also been in this situation, you know, that's why I definitely speak with compassion. It is very intense, but the thing is that most of the time it does not work out, because the patterns within you and within the other person are so strong that you both need to do so much healing work, so much awareness work, that you actually could make it work. So there needs to be really this dedication to healing. But also very often these people are not in your life to actually be your partner. These people come into your life to show you the things that are unhealed within you. And when you start doing that, then you actually usually will find partners that feel completely different, where there's not this like intense attraction, but more like a softness, you know, and a safety, like someone where you think, oh wow, I can actually count on them, and it will be a completely different experience, more a friendship based, very down to earth, and like fun, you know, experience, and really someone who is like your team partner. And that's, for example, right now what I've created with my boyfriend, almost husband. We're going to get married in October. So we met 5 years ago, and I also wrote a blog about this. And in the beginning, there was not like huge attraction, but we felt so just, I don't know, like we just really liked each other so much. And this has developed into such a deep love, you know, like such a feeling of I can count on him no matter what, and he can count on me, and we're always there for each other, and we're really like partners in life. And that is sort of like, you can't even compare it to the trauma relationship, because the trauma relationship is chaotic. There's so many up and downs. I love you, I hate you. I love you, I hate you. And as you can imagine, this is so stressful and feels very, very unsafe. And many people feel like it's like taking a drug, you know, where yes, you have this amazing high, but then you also fall really low, you know, and you can even get addicted to this feeling. So if that's maybe something that is happening, I would invite you to feel into this and learn more about this, because chasing this can really also, you know, lead you to never actually experiencing real love. It's kind of like the same thing as, you know, you're taking drugs and then the feelings you're having are not really real, right? I mean, they are sort of like there, but you can only reach this if you are taking the drug. You can't get into the state just in your daily conscious normal life. Oh, and May says, congratulations. Yes, thank you so much. It's very nice. Okay, good. So does any one of you have questions about all the topics I shared today? Let me know. Otherwise, again, I want to say yes, check out my website. I put the links there. Also, if you're interested in group coaching, send me a message and I'll send you more information about this. And yes, I'll also help people to date, you know, in a better way. And yeah, that's all the things I do. And also, if you wanted to support my work in general, you know, you may be not interested in coaching or something, I would be super happy if you'd buy me a coffee, because I put a lot of love in my webinars, and I'm really dedicated to teaching. But of course, I also got to support myself. So if you support me, I would very highly appreciate it. And yes, so if there's no more questions, then there's some questions. Oh, yeah. And Iman says, thank you, super insightful. Nice. Oh, cool, Julie. Yes, you're very welcome. And yes, get in touch. And Ollie says, question, what about anger and the subconscious? All right, so anger is actually one of my most favorite topics, because I've done lots of anger work, and it's one of the most suppressed emotions. So how that works also with the subconscious is that whatever you are shamed for in childhood, you will suppress, right? Because let's say your parents get really angry at you and hate it when you are angry. You will be like, okay, if I'm angry, I can't survive. I can't get my needs met. So you press it into the subconscious. But of course, you can never get rid of it, because anger is a very natural emotion. And it's actually a positive emotion, because it shows you your boundaries. And of course, you don't have to hit someone to make a boundary. You can, as a mature adult, just express yourself, right? But so yeah, most people have like a really big pool of suppressed anger, and either it like bubbles up once in a while and they freak out, or they have no sense of boundaries. They are these categorical yes sayers, but even, sometimes it happens that someone just from one moment the next just flips out, and that has all to do, and maybe, even does a violent act. So it's very important and very good experience to bring your anger to the conscious and learn how to deal with it in a conscious way. And I actually have a webinar about this. So check out my YouTube channel. You can find it on my website. It's just a link, and I have a whole webinar about anger, and there you learn a lot. So yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, Ollie. That means a lot to me. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. It was really nice having you. Have a beautiful evening. And I have a few more webinars planned this August. So I hope to see you there, and all the best to everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, beautiful. Very nice to hear. Okay. All the best, guys. Bye.